start recording. I had to wait. I had to wait for the jokes to leave the building off the screen because it was not appropriate, even though my bathroom is on the stream right there. I am a horrible streamer. I am so sorry. So that's the first thing I have to say. And now, what you've been waiting for: questions, conversations, and advice with Artie Rob, and everybody else. It looks like it's there he is. There he is. I just had to invite you in. All right, there's Mr. Shills.
Hi, Rob.
How you doing there, Matt?
Good. How are you?
I'm relatively good. I went for a run today, but
That's good.
yeah. All right.
Yeah,
So
I'm
and
chiming
it's
in from
we got
work.
sun
Thought
issues
I'd
and all kinds
join
of
in
things.
and listen to today's Q&A.
Yeah. Well, we love having you as usual. Um, Anybody else? As I said, anybody else can opt to join us in the Discord if you want to just come and talk about things. Try to talk clearly and slowly, though. Uh, Billy, if you're out there, if you join, make sure to talk clearly and slowly. We had some feedback in the comments like, can you get Billy to slow down when he talks? Okay, I told you this is not a professional operation here. We're just having fun. We do have some good questions today, though. So the first question is, what are the risks of doing bug bounty on stream? So I know that we have some people in the chat who have done bug bounty, and I want to say what they have said first, and then I'll say what I think. Violating your scope. Yeah, I think that. I mean, what's scope mean? So let's talk about that. So Ghost in the Shell, who, as you can probably guess, is into cybersecurity, says scope. So scope is not doing what you've been, sort of contracted to do, or the permission to cover certain things. There's rules to engagement when you do this kind of stuff, and if you violate those rules, as I talked about on Thursday, when we had a bug bounty on Thursday, we talked about this on Thursday about what happened to Randall Schwartz, and that's somebody who went out of scope and did something very good for the company with all the best of intentions. Ended up becoming convicted of being a felon for just doing a password crack. So the first reason to not do bug bounties on stream here with me or somebody else to do them is you might end up finding a bug, or you might end up actually breaking in on accident, but in addition to that, you might be violating the scope of the engagement. And maybe they have a rule specifically that says you can't do it publicly, or you made it known to everybody on accident. So, and plus, I think it depends. I am not a professional bug bounty hunter. There's so many better people to go to watch besides me. I recommend John Hammond among all of them. But when it comes to bug bounty decision making for me about whether I'm going to do it, the way that I would do it would be kind of like throw a larger net out and then see, who I catch in the net, and then see if they have a bug bounty program. By the way, just telling you that that's possibly one of the ways I'm going to do it could already get me in trouble, because unexpected scanning of certain systems could be considered. It's like when the Klingons scanned the Enterprise back in the old days. Any sci-fi where something scans you all the way to beginning to end. Usually not a good sign. Something bad happens after that, like the Borg teleport onto your ship, or something like that. So you got to be careful, and none of that stuff. I don't want to do any of that on stream, right? Not to mention that I could potentially, I mean, even popping onto Shodan.io. If you don't know about Shodan.io, it's the basically Google for all the open ports out there, and you can go on there. I've done it. You can go on there and join random Minecraft servers that don't have any security at all, and other things. But when you do that, Twitch has terms of service about doxing. Back in the old days, yes. So, Twitch has got terms about doxing, and I don't think it would be a hard case to make that revealing somebody's IP address that has an open Minecraft server that you found on Shodan.io, for example, is a violation of the Twitch terms of service. And I know that Twitch streamers have been banned temporarily. Some of them I don't permanently. I think I know the temporary ones. I don't know about permanent. Because they were hacking on stream. They're from what I understand, and I don't know this for sure, but from what I understand, Twitch is particularly hard on people who stream actual hacking, and whether it be game hacking, like how to mod a game, or how to get into somebody's system, or you just want to randomly scan a specific target company, which some of my good friends do regularly on Twitch, and I don't agree with that. They're fantastic people. I rate them all the time, but I think that is a very substantial violation of the terms of service, and frankly, the ethics of the people that you claim to be getting hack bug bounties for. If you are live and you are even if you show open ports that shouldn't be, that could be construed as doxing something about a target that, yes, sure, somebody could have done on their own, but because you did it in front of 4,000 people, all 4,000 of those people are going to go, oh crap, let's go do this. And the streamers that I'm talking about don't have that kind of following right now, but I cannot imagine somebody like Nahamsek or doing that kind of thing live. And so that's why I don't do it. I'm cautious with I'm picking my words here carefully because I don't want to offend anybody. I am not, as I said, and as other people have said, I am not a professional hacker. I do security audits, and I've done hacking. I've caught people in the past. I've been a system engineer forever. But that's different. So, moreover, from an actual security professional says, Ghost in the Shell says, moreover, a bug bounty is a relationship between you and the company. On another note, there are some bounties that actually will not mind if you stream the bounty, but that will be explicitly in the scope. Nahumsec and others actually have sanctioned live bug bounty sessions. Okay, so that's cool. That's cool. And I mean, somebody, but Nahumsec. If you guys don't know, Nahumsec is one of the bigger Twitch streamers, but also a very, very big businessman. He's very, very focused on promoting bug bounty programs and education and everything like that. But this is a guy who has gone through the business of bug bounties. So if there's anybody who knows about what are the boundaries of being able to stream something, it's going to be somebody like Nahumsec, because that's their business. That literally that's his business. I mean, he's not just is he doing the bug bounties, but he's setting up other programs, and he's actively helping these companies come up with the explicit agreements to make it happen. In fact, if there's one thing that Nahumsec, he doesn't do a lot of hacking on stream anymore, but because he's so HackerOne too. Yeah, and he worked for HackerOne for a long time. So I think he pretty much set up most of HackerOne, frankly. So so people like Nahumsec have a very astute mind when it comes to the business of bug bounty and what's appropriate and how do you stay on the side of ethics and getting your money. You don't have to have it. You can be a complete black hat. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get paid if you violate the rules of a pen test, right? So you could get a pen test and submit it, and then somebody could say, well, this got streamed, and they're like, oh, we're not paying you. So even if you have no ethical desire to do the right thing, do it for the money, because they're not going to pay you if they find out that you violated the terms. So there we go. But what about Hack the Box or Try Hack Me? Hack the Box and Try Hack Me are not bug bounties, right? That is not bug bounty streaming. So Try Hack Me and Hack the Box, which, by the way, I'm going to say it again. I've been doing 6 to 8 to 10 hours of Hack the Box streaming every week now. That started last week. Just because it's fun and because it's something I want to add, and it's actually one of the things I want to add to my cluster over here is some 24/7 pen test scans that are that follow the rules as much as I can. And so I am interested in cybersecurity. I have done it in the past. I've done audit compliance checks, more blue team kind of thing for IBM for years. But I'm not officially paid to do hacking. I actually do want to get the ISC certificate that covers programming, hacking, and security. What is the name of it? I'm going to go find it really quick. There is an ISC certificate. I mean, if you're going to get certificates, right? ISC certs. I have nothing to do with the ISC at all. You know that I don't necessarily like certifications, but if I ever were to get one, the one that I personally want to get is this one. There's a lot over here to pick from. The CISSP everybody knows about. Tanis has his, by the way. Um, it's to me, it's more of a leadership thing, and you have to get these like you have to pay your $300 to take the test like every whatever. I don't know. I don't know how it works. Uh, it just solved hack the box challenges regarding Twitch TOS. Yeah, I think you could show how to use Nmap and be fine, as long as you don't target a system that's not your system. You know, I've actually wanted to set up a honeypot and hack an IP address of somebody who hacked the honeypot. And I don't know where that would stand on term. I think it would be hella fun to do on stream, but it could end, poorly for many reasons. I mean, I could get hacked by any number of people and shame them online and then become a target and a million other things. So that's, I mean, there's just a lot of risk involved. I mean, it's risky enough streaming, period. Let alone, doing that kind of thing. This is a certificate, by the way, that I'm thinking of getting, the CSSLP. It actually is a certificate. It's also the highest paying of the certificates. This certificate is focused on software integration specifically. Certified secure software lifecycle professional. And so I write a lot of operations software, whether it's scripts or in Go and things like that. It's my favorite part of being in operations, and a modern SRE means you know how to code in addition to be able to take care of the machines. And in cloud native, you really got to know how to code these days. And the lab, by the way, that I'm making over here is so that I can write enterprise cloud native management software, specifically to work with Kubernetes and the infrastructure that hosts it, in my lab here in Go. And so I can explore with different things and write some operations software. So that's my love. That's what I want to do. And it says, again, I don't really like coding, but I would really love to have. I'm just lazy. I don't want to manage my cluster as hard as I have to right now. Put a tap on your network. Your scene plan to get harness all the data. You put in plots in the. Yeah, I'm totally gonna do that. It goes to the shelf. If you want to help me set that up. Yeah, I'm seriously thinking. I've gone back and forth about whether I'm gonna allow public inbound access to my honeypots here at home, which I think is going to be blocked by my ISP anyway. But even if that doesn't work out, I'm definitely going to be deploying honeypots to the cloud. And like I've done this before. Full disclosure, I've done it before in a security camp, and it wasn't really the kind of security camp that somebody like Ghost in the Shell would really get deep with. But it was enough to tell people about nmapping. You can go watch video of it. Actually, there's actually a system that got compromised, and we s-traced the malware that had taken over a cloud machine during a week-long security conference, kind of summer camp that I put on like some years back. So that's kind of fun to see, all that stuff that's working and thing. And I think that that's probably okay to do. You are doxing IPs there. You're doxing the inbound IPs of these people, and you're doxing the IP of your cloud, your honeypot. That probably would be okay with Twitch terms of service. To monitor, to like set up a honeypot, let it get owned, and then just watch it while it's being owned and study how it's being owned and how you could tell that it's being owned. Yeah. That's actually a favorite part of the purple teaming. Yeah. And I don't even know really what purple teaming means. I've heard people say it a lot, and I say, oh, purple's red and blue. It must mean they're doing both. And I'm like, okay, well, is that all? So what is purple teaming? What is purple teaming? Purple teaming. Traditionally, a purple team is considered a penetration testing team collaborating with a subset of a blue team to conduct a concrete point-in-time assessment. The red team explains what attacks they are executing in real time with a goal of determining whether the blue team can either prevent or attack the attack. Oh, yeah. Purple teaming is what I want to do. That is exactly what I want to do. So thank you for sharing that definition for it with us. I'm going to put that in the README. What is purple teaming? Purple teaming. Okay, so the question was about bug bounties on stream. So if I do it, it'll be purple teaming stuff. I think you could do purple teaming stuff on stream. I think that would be kind of fun actually, because you could set up, you could have like a blue team kind of group, and you could go out there, and then you could have people in your community as well as other people coming into the honeypot and breaking into it. But you would know who those people are, and you wouldn't be doxing IPs because they would obviously do it from a VPN or a jump host or something, and then they would come in and do the thing, and then we could monitor the whole thing. I don't think any of that would be a violation of the terms of service, but going out there and scanning a specific Fortune 500 company to look for bug bounties live, even if you don't find anything, is dubious. I think that's I would not do it. I would not do it. But if you want to do it, that's up to you. There are people who do it, but I would never do that. Anyway, one thing you need to emphasize to your viewers is to learn Linux as a foundation, but they have to know Windows as well. Active Directory, ACLs, PowerShell, and the Windows world. Yeah, absolutely. All the money is in the Windows stuff. Yeah, and that's actually one of the. I'm glad you mentioned that. One of the reasons. So I'm going to put this question here. It's like, why did you stop pursuing OSCP cybersecurity? So at the beginning of I started streaming Twitch some time ago, and with the intent of changing my career, I was running my own business, and I was like, I always liked the security stuff. And so I went very aggressively for the first year toward OSCP and had lots of viewers and everything. And they eventually taken it out because I changed for two reasons. And the reason this goes to the show, ask this question is because in order to become a pen tester anyway, or even a purple team person, I had to learn PowerShell. I had to learn Active Directory. I had to, have Windows. I had to hack those things. And then the thing that finally just like, yeah, they changed the format. You cannot pass now unless you do well in the Windows portion. Nice. So, and it was actually, so that when that stuff was going down, I was kind of getting, sad because I was like, I am going to be spending, my days in Windows trying to find errors in Windows. And that's going to be my existence. I'm not going to be spending a lot of time on the Linux command line, and not nearly as much as I do now in my job doing Kubernetes administration, assist administration for Linux systems and cloud native. I pretty much live on the terminal the whole time and write terminal applications and operation stuff, right? And when I realized that my cybersecurity job was going to be mostly, at least 50%, hacking and hardening Windows systems, and that I was the other, 25% of it was going to be me writing reports about those things, as opposed to, documentation and code like I do now. That was enough to cause me to reconsider and to go into the cloud native space. The real final straw was the money in cloud native. The money in cloud native systems operation and Kubernetes. We just lost 2 team members 2 weeks ago. We can't keep them. There are so few of them that the amount of money you can make as a cloud native infrastructure engineer is obscene. It's absolutely obscene, and the cybersecurity people can't touch that. The zero day people maybe can, and so the money came in at the end of it. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to be underpaid, playing around with Windows and PowerShell all day, maybe hacking them, and then writing some report for somebody who did not going to give some boring report about how they need to close down their security holes, and then watch the news while they get hacked because they didn't close the holes they just found. And so I decided at that time that cybersecurity as a career wasn't what I wanted to do. As a hobby, pen testing on the side and running my own Kubernetes clusters to keep my skills sharp at work in order to run my own scans and to do my own things and to attack people in my own terms and to make that sweet pen testing money. Yeah. So that was my thought process. People want to know why I gave it up. I actually caught a lot of flack for that, by the way. Yeah, I did. I caught a lot of flack for that because people wanted to see me going through the OSCP prep, and I liked it, but when I changed it, they felt like I had been a traitor to the cause. But it's like whatever. So I do, but we can still do it for fun. Not many entry points on the web and IoTs with Linux. Yeah, since Linux is too smart. But for the juicy stuff, move laterally on pen test. Yeah, Windows is it. Yeah, Windows is the thing to hack. Yeah, for sure. And I think that some of the hack the box stuff has Windows in it more now, so I'm looking forward to getting into some of that stuff. Um, anyway, another question here. So why are Makefiles so horribly abused? And um, this is a tough one. This is this came about because we were in what were we in? We were in Core DNS, and the Core DNS source code looks really good. It's in Go, and we're going through the deployment. Is that what's it called? Oops. No, deployment. There we go. Okay, so we're in a GitHub repo called Core DNS deployment, and our systemd. Uh, and so um, anyway, I was looking through here, and I saw this Makefile, and I was like, oh, here we go again, and I'm gonna pick on this particular. This is everywhere. This is a problem. It's a big, huge pet peeve of mine. It's everywhere, and I'm gonna ask one question to the technical people out there: why is this a Makefile? Why couldn't this have been done as a shell script? Why is this not a shell script? Name one thing in here that makes this need to be a Makefile. Because it's cooler. Because it's harder to understand. Because it's less efficient. And this, I'm gonna put a challenge out there to the over engineers out there like me. Sometimes I love Make, by the way. I love it for the right purposes. Let's talk about what Make is really quick. So Make is a tool that was invented way back under the C days in order to, because you had multiple files that all had to be built, and then those files had to be linked together into a single binary. And so having a tool where you could put dependencies between the different things, so that if something had like 5 different dependencies, then one of those dependencies would trigger that the other thing that depended on it to be rebuilt, and then they would trickle up and the whole thing would get rebuilt. So that kind of core dependency tree file changing system, that's what Make is needed. It is definitely needed. It's needed in the C world and other places like that, but not even so much in the Go world. But so here's the thing: if you have, so let's say you have a markdown file, and anytime that markdown file changes, you want to render it as an HTML file, and then you want another site to pick up that HTML file, the new one, and have the whole site be redone and possibly even deployed. Just because you changed that one little markdown file, sounds kind of, CI/CD sort of thing. Yeah. And so, and if you change, and it could be that HTML file depends on maybe 2 files. Maybe there's a template header file, and then there's also another markdown file. And if either of those files change, then the dependency file has to change, right? And there's lots of other tools out there. People are mentioning them. If in that kind of situation, makes a lot of sense. But this entire thing is total crap. This Makefile is completely and totally unnecessary. And I can almost hear the words of the person who decided to use a Makefile. Well, we don't know when we might have a dependency like that eventually, so we wanted to start with Make. But I will show you, there are Makefiles that have hundreds of lines in them, and they're all phony. They're all phony. I don't think the CSF said it had to be a Makefile. I don't think so. I think a lot of it is because there's no standard for a shell script. My standard for this is to make a shell script called build, and to do the same exact thing, and to use proper functions that can be called independently and that can be passed to the command line. This can't. I mean, you kind of can. That's what they're doing here, though. So they're like doing make. They're doing this so you can do, like, if you want to, you can just make one of the rules here. So you can make Debian, and you can make Debian clean. So it basically gives you that sort of, initial action verb kind of thing. And that's been in Make for all along. So, but you start to see that this stuff is kind of problematic. Let me show you a case where Um, so this is, look at this. If your Makefile is mostly phony, then honestly, you're doing it wrong. I think you're doing it wrong. You're overcomplicating it, and you're causing a lot of problems. Um, uh, and the reason you're causing problems is, first of all, let me start. So each line in a Makefile, not to mention Makefiles have to have tabs here, right? So Makefiles have to have tabs. Makefiles have this weird syntax that is similar to shell but not shell. Then if you each, here's another thing people don't know, each line under a Makefile stanza is a separate subshell. It makes a separate subshell for each one. So you can't leverage global variables and package variables and stuff like that. God, yeah. I mean, people hate variables in Make, and they can never remember what they are because they're just close enough to shell. And so look at this. This is a phony. There's a phony. There's a phony. Okay, is this a phony? Nope. This is an actual one. All right. So this one here says that this and that's got a space in it. That's weird. zdirectives.go. So this dot file, if the plugin.cfg file changes in any way, then we should run go generate core DNS go get, and that should give us a zdirectives.go out of that. It should. And that should be the thing that it makes. But there's no association with that's how the file gets generated. I mean, we assume it is, but we don't know. Another phony, which means you're just going to make another phony. Look, it's exactly the same thing. If we do gen or we change the plugin, we're just going to do this. Why didn't they just make a build thing that said build gen and then just do build gen instead of that? It's just this. You see my point, hopefully. This entire Makefile is completely useless. It doesn't do anything that Makefiles were originally intended to do. Not a single thing. And not only that, it's redundant. It doesn't even have, I mean, it's going to do a go generate for both of them just because this file changed, right? I hate this stuff. I see this all the time. Every time I see it, I complain. And because it unnecessarily complicates the Make system, it creates extreme inefficiencies, and people think that they do the whole thing because they want to be able to type Make and just have it work. Well, you could have just typed build instead, and then had a build, bash script there, and it would have been a lot simpler to read. It would have been easier to maintain, and it would have been a lot more efficient to run. So you'll never see me doing these. And if you want to see an example of one of my build scripts that would do something similar, you can look through my .dot files or any of my other projects. I will almost always create a standard build program. Not to mention that sometimes people like Make because Make has built-in completion. So it says, oh, okay, I get all my rules here. I can do my rules for that. I just tab and I got them, right? Well, you can put those very easily in your build scripts as well. And it's not that hard. You have to add this stuff at the end to add completion and delegation to your shell scripts. And so I do that, and then you're asking yourself, well, gosh, Make is already on the system, and if I have bash and I'm going to have to add that, I might as well just use Make. And I see the argument against writing a shell script because there are some conveniences like the tabbing to tab completion to get the rules. And that's kind of nice, I'll admit, and you get that for free, right? As long as they have Make installed. So you don't have to write the completion into your shell script like I do. But a lot of these Makefiles are not even that. So I'm just going to put that out there. You can obviously make your decision. Strangely, I actually got shot down to use a Makefile at work, because the team was like, no, it's too complicated. We don't want Make. We want to just stick with shell. I'm like, okay. And so I use shell. It's funny because I thought, because there was an interdependency that Make is good for managing, and they didn't want anything to do with it. They're like, no, we don't want to see that ever again. But you see Make a lot in Go projects. You see it a lot in Go projects. I think another reason that people use it is because it's just so standard. They know where to go to see everything about how to make the file or whatever. Um, Sometimes one DSL for these types of scripts, make, Gradle, etc. I know that in Rust there is a separate build.rs if you're trying to do some stuff. Yeah, and in Go there's like generate.go, right? And there's you're going to be dealing with these like builder tools, and each language has its own thing. I think it's pretty safe to say though, that Go as a community has adopted Make as its build tool. I have not been in a cloud native project in the last year and a half that wasn't mine that did not use Make. And I, oh God, the Perl Makefile.pl, you remember that? Oh, and yeah, I mean, and then if you're doing C these days, you don't even start with Make either. You have to start with AutoGen and then configure, and then you get a Makefile, and then you can make install, right? Um, so I've learned to just accept some things that are true, and one of them is that literally every single cloud native project I've ever been in uses Make for Go builds, which is ironic because there's already look at this, directives generate. They even have one. There's already code in here to, this is a generator. See this? This tells it when you're doing a Go build to ignore this. This is a program that was written to help do the generation that is then called from Make. Because Make doesn't do enough, right? So they wrote a generator to do all the little things that they wanted to do, and then they called that for Make, and then blah, 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 So I'm just making you aware of it. Oh, I swear I did not mean to do that pun. I swear it. But that's the end of that complaint. That's like a half an hour of complaining. So I do think Makefiles are abused. My thought is that you should start with a shell script, because those lines in the shell script and the environment variables are going to have to be in your Makefile anyway. And then if you actually do need to cut it over to a Makefile, it's not that much extra work. And you might say, well, I want to have CI/CD only call Make. I don't want to have to change my CI/CD every time. You're going to have to anyway, because you're going to be adding new rules and phonies and stuff like that. So, unless you just have a central input, line. And if so, if you don't, you're, whatever. So, I mean, the chances are in that particular case, you probably want to do build anyway, because you're going to want to run the generator before you even run Make. So use bash and bat as the Golang team intended. Yeah, I think that's true. I think they intended you to use bash and bat for that kind of thing. Did you actually find a link to that? Oh my, here we go. Here we go. From the horse's mouth. Yeah. Bat. Here we go. Race run.bash, make.bash, make.bat. Wow, look at that. It's a bash script that does all the building. Wow. That's interesting. I never saw that before. So for those who can't see, we're looking at the master Golang source code, which does not have Make in it. It has bash scripts and it has .bat scripts, so that you could build it either on, Windows or something with bash. Is make.dist, is that a make file? What is this? This is a batch. Make.dist. Look at the comment for make.dist. Does it have a good comment? Or is it make.dist? It's because integration mostly works to give the worst dev a small teams. Yes. Yeah, it is. That's it's probably true. Yeah, the people they give the building job to they're not the best devs, right? That's probably true. I don't know. Default target install, go tool install, verbose, go tool install, clean. That's not a make file. Does make see make.dist now? That's interesting. I thought it had to be actually named Makefile. Make quieter, make clean, make install. Yeah. All right. Well, enough complaining. Just know it. I mean, you can. Ryan, do you want to talk? Here, I'm inviting you if you want to talk. Do you want to say something?
Oh,
You can.
very well then.
I'm sorry. What?
Oh, very well then.
Well,
I do want to add my 2 cents of
sure.
the standard for open source projects has always just been do whatever the install file says.
Yeah.
It just happens to usually be make.
Yeah. Right. I think that's right, and I think if you go into the install file, you should be fine. And I do think make files are abused, but I also love make, so I'm kind of torn. But I will say this: the other day when I was trying to remember the syntax for make, I was like, "Huh, I don't remember," and I had to go look it up. And cognitively, it's kind of an overhead because I'm doing Bash all day. So I don't know. These are the kind of things that geeks like us argue about, and everyone else is like, "What? Who cares?" There are several other people in the call. Anybody can come in the call. Matt is here. Ryan is here. Uh, Thanks again, Ryan, for that tip off for the DNS stuff. Uh,
Yep.
Ryan,
DNS
yeah,
is
Ryan
awesome.
suggested we use CoreOS in my home lab, and I'm down that rabbit hole. I love it. So, it can be good stuff. Make is Turing complete init. I don't know. Init? I don't know. I don't know if it is. All right, so here we have another question, and then we'll call it a night. Do you have any a couple? Do you have any good resources for learning about Ansible filters and lists of dictionaries? And the answer is no. I don't. I don't. I haven't found anything good. If anybody else has Ansible resources, please let us know right now because I do not know them. Cockney Slag, make us touring complete in it. How's that? Is that better? You guys are on Discord. I say it at the beginning of every thing, Zaros. Okay. The best one is the official doc. All right, there it is. And there you have it, RTFM.
Yep,
Trial and error
agreed.
with crappy docs. Okay, from the mouth of those who know. I mean, I'm brand new to Ansible. I haven't ever made a playbook. I hate saying that word, by the way. Why is there a sports metaphor in a tech thing? All right, fine. I mean, I'm better with the Greek metaphors and the stuff like that. Playbook. Ugh. Okay, so I'm gonna do Ansible. I'm kind of soured on Ansible before, but I've been convinced to try it again. So I'm gonna do that. Yeah, that's fine. But if you come in the yeah, so yeah, just there's a schedule there. So there you have it. Read the docs. Yeah, no surprise there. Which is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be reading the docs about Ansible and trying to make sense of it at some point. I'm going to be deploying CoreOS and probably making a Ansible playbook if it doesn't already exist to deploy CoreOS in systemd on my 3-target DNS servers in my home lab. So I will be doing this. I will be learning it, but I don't have any answer for you right now. Google, so Muslimi says, using filters to manipulate data. Go Google that and you'll find it. Using filters to manipulate data. Okay. Let's see. Would it be possible to some general version? Oh, yeah. Question on the home lab. David asked, would it be possible to include some version numbers in the home lab? Yes, I'm not there yet. Yes. In fact, the way things are going, some general version numbers in home lab. The answer is yes. In fact, I'm getting a little bit pedantic about it with the Ansible stuff. I am going to try to make it so that you can actually fire up everything in the lab. Did you do a tutorial? Nice. Yeah, at the Prime Agent. If your Prime Agent did it in Ansible, I've tried. I've done Ansible recipes once or playbooks once, but it's so long ago I don't remember anything. So I'm going to be struggling through that as well. Not right now though. But the end goal with my home lab is that if you want to recreate something similar to my home lab, all of my playbooks will be in the home lab repo, and you can just run it and get your own. And I'm going to put a plugin again for this. There is a playlist called Home Lab and It, and all it is just all of us just bantering and not doing anything, and then eventually getting small pieces of things installed one at a time. after a lot of debate about what thing we should pick, and then finally getting it installed. I don't mind that because we made Ryan in particular. I'm going to point him out again. Ryan reminded me I had dismissed the idea of a DNS server in my home lab because it's a home lab. It's relatively tiny. I can use the DNS that's running off my router. And, Kubernetes comes with DNS built in. Core DNS is built into Kubernetes by default. And so I kind of wrote it off as being extra work I didn't need to do. And then we started getting into the whole, how are you subnet mapping your whole network? And I was like, and there was some debate about whether we use 10 dot because 10 dots are used up on VPN. And you get conflicts with VPNs on Hack the Box. And then you can't use 192 because there are some, small businesses and things like that will have a VPN that conflicts with your 192 network. And then you can't even have a VPN. So if you don't put your home lab on a different network, you have all this some conflict. And so we got into this big, huge IP debate and about, how to organize your homeland network. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. I want to write code. And Ryan's like, well, you could just use a DNS server and then you don't care about any of your IPs. And that just kind of was like a moment. And I was like, okay. And then we went with the DNS thing. So we went ahead and looked for best DNS server. We ruled out Core DNS. We ruled out good old, Bind DNS because Core DNS is in Go and it's also embedded in Kubernetes. So the knowledge learned is more applicable to cloud native. And so that's what we're doing. And that is the process of home lab versioning. So that's a kind of a rabbit hole related to the question you asked about the home lab. I don't know what version of Core DNS, assume the latest. And that's where all the discovery about the Makefiles and everything just came from. And the last question we have, which is kind of a downer question, but I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. Ryan, is there anything else you want to say about Core DNS before we move on? I'm kind of...
I have no particular opinions on Core DNS. I haven't used it yet.
Oh yeah, haven't used that one yet. But having a DNS server is mostly your point, right?
Yeah, the point is that full-featured DNS servers exist to solve exactly this problem.
Yeah, and that reminds me, one of the advantages came out from our hackers after that said if you want to emulate DNS takeover or DNS malware or any of that stuff, you have to have control of a DNS server to mess with it. And so if you want to write software that's resilient to DNS takeovers and stuff like that, you have to be able to change your DNS on the fly. And frankly, it just reminded me that Core DNS, which has an API, I understand, might even be better for CI/CD kind of things. If we're writing applications that tests survivability of a domain tunneling, things like that. So those are all requirements for having your own DNS server in your lab. So the takeaway is, yes, you need your own DNS server in your lab, and then in addition to whatever that you have control of, and at least I do. So.
Yeah. And something else I'll add to that is if you are running your own DNS server on a Linux box, Linux has built-in features for network fault injections. You can have unreliable DNS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they have. Well, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point because the old Linux DNS code has apparently got problems with it too. Who's talking? We have people in our Discord. Anybody's welcome to come into the Discord, and I'll invite you on stage, and you can talk. So currently, Ryan's talking. I need to probably put a Discord. I need to figure out how to put y'all on the screen so that people can see you when you're...
Get the fancy avatar pop-up
yeah.
thing.
All in good time. Yeah. Many things. What about Cloud for DNS? Nope. Not in a million years. I don't want to join the my server is down with the rest of the internet club. If you don't know what I'm talking about,
it's fine as a primary with multiple secondaries.
You can do it secondary if you want. That's fine. But I don't know. I am seriously against Cloudflare for everything. There, I said it. You're talking about a guy who lived before the internet was invented. The internet was invented to survive a DNS, not just a DNS attack, but a nuclear attack. And
that is a myth.
Is it a myth?
I've heard it straight from Vint Cerf himself.
Oh yeah? What'd they say?
That it's a myth. It was built to be a way of sharing resources.
Well, it's interesting you say that because
manner.
Yeah, I watched the Triumph of the Nerds 2.01 which goes through the creation of the internet. It's from the same Brenchley, the same guy who did Triumph of the Nerds, the first one. And it doesn't talk. It talks about use of the DARPANET. It talks about exchanging information between universities, but it doesn't. And they were military, but it doesn't talk about the routing protocol specifically being invented to withstand a nuclear attack.
Yeah, it wasn't built for that specifically. It was built as a way of. So the TCP IP stack was built to have a reliable way of routing traffic across multiple systems automatically. Then later DNS got developed to solve the problem of everybody was sharing around a single host's file, etc.
Yeah, and that the thing you just described is the thing I was getting at. That is not decentralized. I mean, that's decentralized, and I think that the internet, because of
from the day one, it was basically centralized because they were sharing around a host's file to define what IP address corresponded to what university's
that's
mainframes, essentially. Well, not mainframes, but like shared computers, multi-user
MIT
systems.
I do. It just makes me wonder. I mean, I could be wrong on this, but I don't like that so many people are using one or two proprietary company DNS servers. It just bothers me, and I don't know. I don't know what's safer. Maybe that's safer.
But
I also don't like that everybody's using one
of just wrappers around a open source one, anyways, half the time.
Yeah, and I mean, but to be fair, I also don't like that the entire world seems to be okay with using 3 different cloud providers and putting all their stuff on there. I don't know. I don't think that is gonna.
And to even make that even worse, everybody just leaves everything on the default US East 1 on AWS.
Yeah. So, what do you think about internet services being centralized? And I guess that covers it. Mail, yeah. Oh God, yeah. Mail. I mean, we used to have our own mail server. Nobody does it now. And that was mostly because of the spam thing, right? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know there is no alternative. Google runs email for the most of the world. If Google went down, there is actually a presentation out there that I watched. I can't remember the conference talk. It was the day Google went down, I think is the name of it. And I think it was former Google employees or somebody. I can't remember. Please don't quote me on any of this, but they gave a presentation and they did a fictional thing, kind of like World of Worlds, where they described what would happen if there's like 5 people that if they all went off the face of the earth, something like that. I don't remember, but it's so centralized, and not only is it centralized, but the team that maintains those core systems within Google in that particular case is so centralized that you literally could take down all of Gmail, for example, and then what would happen to the rest of the world if we didn't have Google search and we didn't have Gmail? What would happen to our internet? What would happen to our culture or to our humanity? I mean, and they were trying to make the point that we've allowed ourselves to re-centralize again, and I don't know. It's interesting. It's I don't have anything besides that to say right now. I am worried. I will say. I mean, people know I've worked on the knowledge exchange grid in my spare time. I'm way far from working on it right now, but I don't think centralization is a good idea. Period. And it might save money. First, in some sense, it might make us more secure because people who know what they're doing are putting servers on the internet instead of horrible servers. I don't know. It's a big topic that we really need to break into one day. Talk about. So what does that say? TCP just released a new RFC, by the way. I haven't dug into it, really. I've heard hosting your own is toast. Email Cartel will have it and blocks it with spam filters. Well, I ran email for a company because I was doing SendMail from home, SMTP, and I had to regularly get us out of the blacklists because people kept sending mail with bad things in it from our company. And it was horrible. It was horrible because I mean it was a full-time job just to stay off all the blacklists. So yeah, this whole debate about centralization. I mean, I'm kind of leaving it open-ended here, but it's a pretty weird one.
Mail servers suck. We
They
still
do.
run an internal mail server, and it's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, they are bad. They are, and they they haven't gotten. I imagine they haven't got much better since I ran SendMail. Um, but yeah, that's why SPF is interesting. Yeah, I do use SPF and ProtonMail. ProtonMail is pretty good. I won't lie. But ProtonMail gives you quite a bit of control over it, and you can actually run mail transfer agent from your machine that's encrypted. It's just pretty cool. So Yahoo blacklisted you, really? Wow. Uh, it's the only security versus freedom thing. Yeah, I agree, and that's why you can't fix the problem. You'd have to change human, you have to change human beings to change this problem. It's not like you can force a fix on people. Yeah. And Lotus, we agreed never to talk about Lotus. We're not going to talk about Lotus right now. Anybody who survived using Lotus for any amount of time, Lotus Notes we're talking about. There's Lotus Notes email. The last question is kind of a downer, so I'm kind of trying to avoid it, but it's the last. We need to ask it. How do I survive a toxic work environment? And I don't have an answer to that. I think the answer is leave the toxic work environment. And if you can't permanently leave the toxic work environment, temporarily leave the toxic work environment and recharge your batteries so that you can dive into the sludge again.
Yep, but be careful. You could go right to another toxic environment.
You can.
That's the thing.
Yep. The grass could be greener. You can think it's better. Honestly, I think we live in an I quit nation. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people sure are quitting. I mean, there's so much to talk about with that. We're not talking about Elon Musk right now.
And in the same boat as you, Rob, employees are leaving, and yeah, they're expecting
The people to step up and
yeah.
And I look. This is such a hard topic for me because, on the one hand, I feel like I've had to deal with working in tough. There's a part of me that wants to say, just buck up and do it. You know what I mean? Just get the work done, shut up, and find some other way to find satisfaction in your job outside of your job, which I was told point blank by a guy that I trust when I was having this exact problem. We had to eventually force somebody off the team because it was so bad. And I mean, we had to generate a case and everything against them. It was very, very negative, very toxic. But this person, unbeknownst to lots of other, the manager on the team, was completely destroying the team dynamic. And it was so bad that several of us had to get together and say, no, we tried to have an intervention. We tried to put this person on, a thing, and eventually they just fired him. And it was the darkest time in my entire career, my entire work career, because the person was a friend, actually. They were cowboy. They did whatever they wanted to. They didn't ask anybody for anything. They didn't attend any meetings. And I mean, they didn't really care. They didn't care about the success of the team at all. They wanted, it was bad because, it was a personality flaw, and it was affecting the rest of us. And we were missing deadlines and stuff because of it. And this person didn't care. And it was very, that was hard. I don't like reflecting on that because it was bad. But I mean, the only other thing you can really do is don't take your work so seriously. I know that's bad to say.
Yeah, don't take it seriously. Try not to take it home with you.
Yeah.
You are still in the office.
That is so hard to do, though. It's easy to say, but
yeah, it is very hard.
You left an SRE as a whole because of the toxic environment. You thought SRE stuff was toxic, really? In the SRE space, see, I've had a different feeling entirely about that. Was it SRE in Silicon Valley? Somebody here is just mentioning that they've left. I've talked about cultures of spaces within the tech industry before, and I find software development to be highly toxic in my experience. And I So I actually like being with the hackers and the administrators and those people, but some people don't like that. The bastard operator from Hell term came from the SRE sysadmin space, so I could see that. So especially if you're working for someone who's there. Um, and SRE stands for Site Reliability Engineer. It's a really horrible term that was invented by Google and pushed on the world for a system administrator who codes and keeps the site up. But it's now become the de facto title to replace system administrator, which was around forever and was just fine. By the way, we were doing SRE work before they gave us a new beneficent title. Um, I don't talk. I get mad about that because Google comes along and like writes a book and the pamphlet of their best thoughts and everything and changes and gets all this notoriety for doing something everybody else was already doing and didn't brag about. But because they wrote a book about it and said put it out in front of everybody, now we all have to change our resumes. So whatever. The idea is that a system administrator should know how to code and they should be working on automating coding and monitoring. But from where I'm coming from, that has always been the job. If you're not doing that, you're not a system administrator. And so Google felt the necessity to make a name for it so that they could be sure that everybody understood that you need to be spending 20% of your time at least writing code and X number of hours like doing operations. If you're doing too much operations, you need to make sure that it's stupid. So what is an SRE? I think we'll end on that one. Just write your resume on LaTeX and then change it and make it, protobuf. Yeah. Anyway, on that note, everybody, I have a habit of ending on negative things. I don't want to do that. Let's see. What else we got here? You got something positive to say? As an alias, easy updates. Yes. But then you have to search for it. What?
I'll say my resume is written in LaTeX and managed in Git.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, mine's in YAML actually, and then I have a generator for it, and then I make a website out of it, and then I PDF down the website, which is fun. We're actually going to do that in the boost, but yeah, every geek has got their. That's a really fun thing to do, by the way. So there's a good thing. If anybody wants an idea
of a branch per customization.
Yeah.
A/B testing.
Yeah.
Sounds fun, Rob. You should do a resume night.
Yeah, we're gonna do that in the boost. Actually, it's a part of the boost. Yeah,
I'd be interested in that. That sounds fun.
We wanted at one point we had it so it generated a web page, and then we learned that just saving a PDF from the web page was actually the best way to get a resume that looked the way you wanted it to look based on changing with the CSS file, And then we realized that we could actually put just use CSS print style sheets, right? And that we could actually use buttons, and we could click on the items that we didn't want to appear in a particular resume, and they would disappear. And then we could just PDF print that resume, which was customized for that specific position. And that just kind of just dovetailed into all kinds of craziness. It's really fun. So I'm going to put it out there. Coding your resume generator could be something that you might want to do as a project. It's a fun idea out there. So and we'll do some of that. You took Notes in your calculate class in LaTeX? Yeah, a lot of people do that. They do, or you can do. You know what? If you take notes in Pandoc Markdown, it supports LaTeX inline.
Also, org mode supports
org mode in Emacs,
LaTeX, yes, and you get free rendering in Emacs.
Yes, you do. Emacs does it too. Yep. There's Pandoc, there's Emacs, there's lots of ways to do that. But yeah, those are some cool things. Thank you, my friends on the panel and everybody who's been here. We're going to go ahead and cut this off because my dog is barking. You guys using org mode. I am not a fan of org mode, but
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. How about the old stories for fun? People holding a paper against the screen and scanning it? Yeah, well, there's that too. So everybody, we'll see you, I guess, tomorrow, hopefully. Bye.